Okay, 1216. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about graphing circles, but we're going to have to rewrite in standard form by completing the square. Okay? Now if you do take pre-calc from Mr. Massey or calculus from Mr. Massey, if you do, this is a super important technique, but it's easy. Okay, that's the good news. It's easy. I just want to make sure that when you see it, you say, oh yeah, I've done this before. Okay, how does it work? Okay, steps for completing the square. One. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to rewrite by, we're going to put, oh hold on, let me back up. Equation of circle is x minus h squared plus ay minus k squared equals r squared. That's where we want to get. We want to get all of our circles. Jay, did you get notes? Okay, all right. Everybody got notes? Okay, you want to write that down?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. So this is our goal, because our center, whatever the numbers are, is this. That's our center. That's our goal. And whatever the radius is, we'll take the square root of that number and we can graph it. Okay. So our goal is to get all of our equations to look like this, and then circles are easy once we get to here. Okay. So step one: put all x's and y's together. Okay, that's step one. So let me slide this up a little bit. Okay, and if I look at example 1, I've got x squared, y squared, x and y's. So I want to put the x's with the x's and the y's with the y's. So I'm going to rewrite this as x squared minus 4x and leave a space. We're going to leave a space. Leave a hole, I call it a hole. Leave a space because we're going to fill in that space, okay? Plus a y squared plus a 4y, okay? So step one, put the x's and the y's together. So I just put my x squared with my 4x, my square root. Now, step two, move c. Now c is the number by itself. It's called the constant. Move c to the other side, okay? Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Julia. It's Monday morning for me. Thanks, Julia. It is an 8x, thanks. I gotta wake up, huh? So now, step 2, move c. C is a name for a constant. The 16 is my constant. I move it to the other side. How do I move 16 to the other side? I just add it, right? So it equals positive 16 because I added. Okay, so far so good, right? It's actually pretty easy. Here's what I've got. My x's are together, my y's are together, and I have the constant on the other side. Now, step 3. You're going to take 1/2 b and you're going to square it. Okay, now 1/2 b. So b is the -8, and with the y, the b is the 4. Okay. So we've got A, B, and we're looking for C. Okay, so what we're going to do then is take B. In this case, my B is -8. I'm going to take half of that and square it. Okay, so B is my number here, -8. So what is half of 8? -4, but -4 squared is a... So B is positive 16. So I'm going to go B equals positive 16. Okay, how am I doing? Now, I'm going to do the same thing here because I've got an x squared and I have y squared. So b in this case is 4, right? So I'm going to take half of that and square it. So you just take half the number and square it. That's all you do. Half of 4 is 2 squared is
4.
So then we got 4. Okay, now step 4. Step 4 is we're going to add those numbers to both sides. Okay, you have to do it to both sides, because what we're going to do is this. We're going to stick 16 here. Now an equation's like a balance. It has an equal sign. You with me? It has an equal. So if it stays equal, if I just put 16 pounds on the scale on one side, you can't do that unless you put 16 because it's a scale, right? It's equal. So I'm going to put the 16 here, but then I have to add the 16 here. I'm going to put my 4 here, but I have to add the 4 here to keep it balanced. Okay, so what we're going to do then is go plus 16 plus 16. Okay, balance it out, right? And I put it right there. That's why I left a little space there. I'm going to go plus 4 here. I'm going to go plus 4 right here. Okay, now my equation really is this. Okay, so my equation now, if I get rid of all this mess, is really an x squared minus an 8x plus a 16 plus a y squared plus a 4y plus 4 equals, let's see, 32, 36 I think, equals 36, right? So I just simplify. I didn't need all this. This is all just extra work. I could have done this extra work on the side, but I wanted to put it underneath so you guys saw, okay? So this, I just rewrote it. Okay, now, I'm going to factor. And then it's going to start looking like a circle. So step 5, it's let's factor, okay? So if I factor, I'm going to go parentheses, 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 right? And to get x squared, I go x and x. And to get a 16, what times what makes 16? 4 and 4. How about a negative 4 and a negative 4, right? And then on the other side with the y's, if I'm going to factor, I'm going to go parentheses, 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 right? And then I need a y and a y, right? I need y and a y to make a y squared. And what times what makes 4? 2 and 2, and works out perfect. Plus 2 and plus 2, and that equals 36. Okay, last step, right? The last step then is, step 6 is to rewrite as parentheses x minus h squared plus a y minus k squared equals r squared. So put it in the standard form, right? Which is easy, because x minus 4 can be rewritten as an x minus 4 squared plus a y plus 2 squared equals 36. Okay. Now, you're not asked to graph it, but I'm going to anyway. Okay, you don't have to, but I'm gonna graph it anyway because I want to make sure you guys know how to graph these. So if I have to graph this, it's easy. I'm gonna go ahead and I know my center is at 4, negative 2. Okay, I'm going back through this because I'm not sure everybody understands this. Hopefully by the time I get done you will. Okay. So if I had to graph it, I know it's a circle because of the x squared, y squared. I know the center of this is at positive 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and negative 2, right? My radius is the square root of 36, which is 6. So I know my center of the circle is at 4, negative 2, and the radius is the square root of 36, which is 6. So I just go from my center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I just draw on my circle. Okay. Lily, you do a nice job. Mine kind of look like potatoes. Potatoes are okay as long as they're in the right spot, the right shape. Okay. Okay, not bad. It's not bad. Very doable. Okay. All right. Tell me when you're ready to turn the page. Yeah, I sure can. How's that? Okay. And then give me a thumbs up when you're ready for me to turn the page, okay? Okay, ready? Autumn, you got it? I'll wait for you. I'm hoping this is an easy lesson for you. This is normally taught in geometry, so I'm hoping this is an easy lesson for you. Okay, example 2. Let's do the same thing. So what do you think? Example 2. Okay, what do you think? Example 2. Well, let's go through the steps. Step 1. What do your notes say? Step 1.
Put all x's and y's together.
Thanks, Julia. So let's go x squared minus a 2x. Leave a spot, leave a hole, plus a y squared plus a 6y. And then what's step 2? Got it. Okay, step 1 and step 2 done. Put all the x's together. Jay, are you taking notes? Of course you are. Put the x's together, put the y's together. Now, what's step 3 say? Okay, so we can probably do this without writing it down. What's half of this number? And what's 1 squared? 1, that's it. So go plus 1 right there. But I got to balance my equation, so add it to both sides, right? Okay. What's half of this number? 3. And 3 squared is?
9.
Plus 9. Plus 9. And I'll show on the side what we did. B was -2. I took half of that, and I squared it, and I got a 1, right? And on this side, B was 6. I took half of that, squared it, gave me a 9, right? Okay, now, what's the next step? What's it say? What's factor? Okay, this is easy to factor. Sure it is. We're just going to factor it into parentheses, 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 right? The only way I can get an x squared is x times x. What times what makes 1?
1.
But I need a -1 and a -1. I need both of them to be negative because I need a -2, -1, -1, good. Let's factor over here. I'm going to go parentheses, 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 right? Y times y, right? And then what am I going to do?
Plus or minus 3 minus 3.
Plus 3, plus 3. Why am I going to go plus 3, Julia? Because I need a positive 6, right? And this adds up to 16, right? Can you rewrite this? Can you rewrite this? Sure. As an x minus 1 squared plus a y plus 3 squared equals 16, right? And then my circle has a center at +1, -3, and my radius is going to be the square root of 16 or 4. How's that? All right. Last but not least, number 3. So here's what I have on number 3.
Is it the graph it on 2?
Oh, we have to graph it? Oh!
Hey! Go!
Okay. All right. So let's take a look at graphing it. And thanks, Julia. I'll graph this real quickly. Thank you. Put this down. And there we go. 1, -3, radius of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thanks, Julia. There it is. Pretty easy, everybody. That was Lily. Thanks, Lily. Oh, that was a bad looking circle. Okay, you guys can do this, right? Okay, last problem. Let's take a look at the last problem. So, example 3. Before I do it, I've got to think about what the problem is. So, this is a circle.
Okay.
X squared plus y squared equals 1. That's a circle. You guys agree? And the center of the circle is at 0, 0. So center is at 0, 0. And the radius of the circle is 1. Okay? So if I were to do kind of a rough sketch of it, it looks something like this. Shh. Let me finish, you guys. Before you start talking, let me finish. Okay? This is a line. How do I know this is a line? It's a line. How do I know that's a line? So it's a line that might look something like this. And I'm just doing a rough sketch. Okay? How do we know where they intersect? Okay? It's going to take some math. So with a line, it's possible, are you watching? It is possible with this line that it could go like this. Okay? How many points of intersection? None. It could go like this. You get 2 answers, or it could even go like this. 1 answer. So let's find out what it is. So what I'm going to do is, to find the answer, I'm actually going to set it up and solve it with algebra. Okay, let's do that. All right, so I'm going to do a substitution. If y is equal to x plus 1 or 2, I'm going to write this value right there. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite it. So I'm going to substitute. So I'm going to substitute into x. So I'm going to rewrite equation 1, x squared plus y squared equals 1. And equation 2, y equals x plus 1 over 2. So I'm going to make a substitution. So to make a substitution, I'll have one variable, and I'll have a variable of x. So I'm going to substitute and put this x plus 1 in for y. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite as x squared plus x plus 1 over 2 squared equals 1. Okay, I made a substitution. Here we go. Now this is really algebra 2 stuff. I like this. So let me simplify this. This is an x squared plus a x plus 1 over 4. Okay, I got the 4 because I squared it. So x plus 1 squared. I wrote that twice, and I squared the 2. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is this. I don't like fractions, so I'm going to multiply everything by 4. Okay. Will you guys stop talking? Okay. Are you writing this down? You are. Good. So let's multiply everything by 4. And I'll get a... This is going to get rid of my fraction. That's why I'm doing this step, because I would prefer not to have a fraction. 4x squared plus... And I can FOIL this. I will FOIL this in a second. Okay. I multiply by 4 to get rid of the fraction. Now I'm going to FOIL this. 4x squared plus, I'll go x squared plus a 1x plus another 1x plus 1 equals 4. Okay. I'm going to go 5x squared plus 2x, and I'll bring over the 4 and make it a negative 3 equals 0. Okay. Now if I have to solve for x, it looks to me like we're going to have two answers because x squared. Okay. Two answers actually kind of makes sense from the picture I showed you earlier. So if I factor this, I'll get 5x and x. Okay. And multiples of 3, and I've got a 3 here and a 1 here. And I want to make the 2. So if I'm careful, if I make this a plus and a minus, I'm just factoring at this point in time, then what will happen is I'll get my positive 5, negative 3. Now, almost done. We go to our mini equations. Remember our mini equations? Our mini equations are a 5x minus 3 equals 0 and an x plus 1 equals 0. Okay. If I solve my mini equations, I get x equals 3/5 and I get x equals negative 1. Okay. Now, I'm getting there. Okay. So what I have is, if I go back to the original picture I gave you, I really am going to have a circle. I want you to watch this. Okay, I've got a circle and I've got a line. Okay, they're going to intersect in 2 points. Well, right now I know some of it. I know one x value is 3/5. So this point would be like 3/5 something. I get another x value of negative 1. This could be negative 1 something. So to get its corresponding y value, because it's a point, right? So to get the corresponding y value, I need to find the corresponding value that goes with it. Well, let's go way back to our first equation. So if I go back to this, I can find y, right? I can find y because if I put an x value, let's take the easy one first. Let's plug negative 1 into here. So I'll have a y equals a negative 1 plus 1 over 2, which is 0. So one of my points is at negative 1, 0. Circle that. My other point, if I take my negative, or my 3/5 and plug it into here, I'll have y equals 3/5 plus 1 divided by 2. Okay, I might even use my calculator to do that because it's just kind of messy. 0.6 plus 1 divided by 2, and I get an answer of 0.8. So here's my other point at 3/5, comma 0.8. All right, that was a little bit harder of a problem, but we can do that. Okay. So what I found is the points of intersection that I'm looking for are at. In fact, I have it totally graphed wrong. Negative 1, 0. Negative 1, 0 is right about here, and then 3/5 and 0.8. So the line looks more like this, and there's my points of intersection. A little bit harder?
Yeah, a little bit.
But we're in Algebra 2. We're not in Algebra 1 or Geometry anymore. Okay,